Main card TIZ. 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 All right, man.
That just made it so much funnier because I knew we were gonna start out with talking about me and stuff. I didn't think we were gonna start off with the chant.
Yeah, that was improvised. I made the decision to go with the chant probably like a couple seconds before I actually started doing it. So yeah,
that was hilarious.
Obviously, as we talked about on the last pod, you are fighting in Shane's promotion on March 11th. You're going to be boxing, aka Blicky, and we've been training for a few days now. So it's been like I'd say we're like through the first week of it. So I guess I'll just leave it to you. So how do you feel 1 week in?
I feel like obviously there's a lot more to be done, but I think so far it's definitely been a productive week, which is that's really all you can ask for. Just getting 1% better each day. I feel like I have. So yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done. So that's really all I'm gonna I guess harp on. There's not much to like really I guess emphasize. Like we're just going through the ropes right now, just making sure I feel comfortable in there, and then the more and more we progress through it, the more and more I can add to the arsenal.
Yeah, obviously, like just being like coach slash spectator, it's been pretty fun to watch you get better the past week, and I think you're only gonna improve more and more as time goes on. And this kid doesn't know what's coming, man. He's screwed. So I'm happy about it. Probably I would say not officially yet, but probably officially that Friday is going to be when the first video drops. So be on the lookout for that. Obviously, we'll be hyping it up on social media and stuff too anyway. So be sure to follow those as well as subscribe if you haven't already. But I guess with that, we'll actually get into some MMA news because there is actually a decent bit since we last had a pod. In the PFL, they had some pretty big news. Jake Paul signed to compete in MMA. Now, I'm pretty sure he's not competing like this year, but in 2024. And the thing that they're doing, they're creating a pay-per-view division where basically they have like these big name fighters in there for super fights, and they earn I think the general consensus of the contract is that the people who sign it get 50% of the revenue shares, like for the pay-per-view, which is phenomenal. Like that's amazing for the sport in terms of like fighter pay, if you ask me. But what did you like? I know I texted you and I was literally at work and I saw like the notification. I was like, what? I was like, PFL. But what did you think?
Yeah, that was pretty crazy too. Like, and then like obviously like getting it confirmed that he's gonna have at least one MMA fight this year. So that's gonna be definitely something to look out for. But as far as like the PFL goes as a whole, as like an organization, yeah, it's all. I think like this is something like it's definitely needed right now within MMA, and I guess just fighting in general. Like just trying to like just really like trying to just get eyes, I guess, onto the promotion, onto the sport, and just and then obviously paying these guys as well and girls like like what they like truly are worth and stuff like that. It's great. It's really good to see, and this kind of competition. I think for the UFC to have is like it's gonna be a big thing, a big talking point this year. So yeah, that's exciting. But at the same time, I hope I hope the PFL doesn't turn into something that like kind of gets like mocked in a way. I guess like I don't know if this is like happened with a prior promotion, but like I hope it don't get mocked in the sense like, oh, they're just signing like I guess like Bellator was like notorious for signing like names that used to be in UFC, and then now like obviously you know them from UFC, now they're with Bellator. Now like
True.
PFL steps in. PFL has this huge budget, all this money going around to these fighters. So it's Yeah, it's something new. It's something fresh, which is really good for the sport. Definitely something like I think the UFC like definitely as like a organization as a business I think needs that like kick to like really up things up this year. Um, as far as like yeah, just like when it comes to like money and finances, and then obviously like booking like money fights and stuff that like these fighters like truly deserve. Um, yeah, it's really exciting in that sense, but I hope it doesn't get looked at as like this organization's like that people like start to like not take serious as like, oh, they just care about, just being like, I guess like just having the attention, and then everyone's watching their promotion, but like the product itself, so like the fights and stuff aren't actually that good, and good matchups aren't actually being made and stuff. But yeah, it's cool to see what it's really yeah, it's a really good thing to see what's going on with PFL, and I hope they keep innovating, and I hope they keep rising to the top.
Yeah, speaking of Rizin, they were faced off against Bellator. I think it was
Smooth
on New
transition.
Year's Eve. Appreciate that. Thank you. But now I remember we talked about this like right after the New Year because we're probably gonna watch it on New Year's Eve. They hyped it up all this time on Instagram and all these other like social media platforms. 8 p.m. Eastern time, 8 p.m. Eastern time. So I figured like even though it was overseas that they were probably just having it like on New Year's Day on their time. But no, I wake up on December 31st and I see all the results and like how Bellator is like basically they swept Rizin, which is good for them, good for Bellator. But we make this joke all the time like you never really know about Bellator events until like 2 days before it. This is like the only one that we knew about more than like a week before. And then
Yeah,
they leaked it like they don't
yeah.
even tell anybody that they're gonna play it replay at 8 p.m. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, that's something that needs to be talked about because, like, I'm in the same boat as you. Like, I didn't even like tweet like a single thing about this card. It's just like, like it's almost as if it's like being just kept like under, like it's supposed to be just kept under the radar. Like, oh, we're having this whole cross promotion of a card going on, but
Let's just not show it
it's
until.
like, oh, that's only for the real fans that want to watch and like care. And it's like I don't know, like it's just I so it's got to be a Bellator thing because we've already roasted Bellator for how just poor their promotion is and whatnot goes, but I don't like. Is it like is it because was like because let's be real, Bellator like clean sweep, like all right, that's something that should have happened, let's be honest, but
Yeah, Ryzen's weird too because like all like the Japanese MMA companies like they kind of have like a weird history with like the Yakuza and stuff like that. Like that was the huge thing with Pride back in the day. So like I remember like all the jokes like in the comments were like Scott Coker better get his boys out of Japan before the mob gets them. And I'm like damn, but I don't know. It's just like anything with Ryzen, like I feel like a little bit weird about just in general, probably just because of like MMA history. But I think they're pretty clean. But in general, I was just
yeah,
like you
no,
said, like I
it's
kind of thought Bellator should have won, and they did, and they
yeah,
won like dominantly.
yeah.
So
So like I don't. It's just so like just odd to me. Like does did Bellator just like I guess not want to give like right? Like I'm just it's so confusing because I don't know. I feel like this was something that could have definitely like been built up to be like one of the bigger cards we've seen in like a while, but. I don't. Yeah, I don't know. It's just like how are we not like finding out like you waking up to the results? Like come on, like
yeah, like
that's
they
not how.
don't. It's just amazing. Like I said, like it's just how they shoot themselves in the foot. Because like I want to like Bellator, and I do like Bellator. I shouldn't even say that because I do, but they just annoy me sometimes like how they do like their business because like I said you finally know about this event like more than a couple days before it. I'm excited for it, and then they don't bother to mention that. Oh yeah, this
Like
isn't the
hell
actual
yeah.
thing; it's a replay. Like not that I saw. Maybe they posted it and I just didn't see it, and I'm just like shitting on them for no reason. But I doubt it because like we've talked about how they promote in the past. Like they just literally you find like they post about like highlights and stuff like with their athletes, and then the week before the event they post like something, and then it seems like you don't really hear shit until like weigh-in day or if they have a press conference. But this one I was excited just to be like completely deflated on it pretty much, like right when I woke up in the morning and saw that AJ McKee won already and like all these different things that I was looking forward to. So I was just like,
Yeah, I was
whatever.
seeing other people just not really as like, upbeat about it. I guess like coming in, I guess like as it was happening and then afterwards, like whether or not, like they're expecting a clean sweep from Bellator 2 or like just, how we feel right now, just like, like we don't even like know that the card's going on and then we have to find out afterwards like all that happened. Like it doesn't what was it being streamed on?
Um, that's a good question. I would imagine Showtime because I'm pretty sure they're still on Showtime until next year, and then that the CBS
Yeah.
deal starts, which is awesome for Bellator. But yeah, I'm not really sure. I mean, like I said, I kind of just lost interest fully once I saw the results because I'm like, well, why would I watch it? I already know who wins. And like you think that they'd like keep that in mind because like they hyped it up so much that like that's my problem. Like I'm sure like in Japan like it did really well, but they hyped it up like huge to their American audience at like 8 p.m. Eastern time. Then why would you have like the MMA sites like leak the results? Like I just don't understand that. But I mean, maybe because they figured that it'll be leaked by like Rizin or like in Japan like media anyway. But
Yeah,
I don't
I
know.
mean,
Not well thought out in my
not
opinion.
because like, uh like the promotion and all went poorly, but like I don't think we see like really too many of these cross promotion cards in the future, to be honest. I don't know, I just think that the better promotion's just gonna win every time, I guess in a way. Like I guess there's not I mean I kind of like unless it's Bellator and UFC, like
Or
are
like
there
one
really.
championship. One
Yeah, one,
championship would be
two.
an interesting one for me. But
One, two. I definitely want to be. I want definitely want to be in tune with a lot this year, because that's another promotion that's really like
yeah,
that's been on the come up, and I think they just I think that it keeps just continues to get better and better. So yeah, it's I mean it's already this year's already off to like a pretty like exciting start with these other these outside promotions and stuff, and just overall competition just in the business of MMA. It's really good to see. So
yeah.
yeah.
I think it's like it's definitely interesting. I mean, like we were talking about the PFL. One championship is always interesting. You just got to be paying attention to it. But Bellator, like obviously they swept. But then Scott Coker was saying how like they have many fighters who could quote beat the UFC in this similar type of format, and chuckled a little bit. Not gonna lie.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what I'm saying. I guess in a way that's what I'm saying. Unless something like this is gonna lead to something like that, then
Yeah, which it never will, because Dana will
never,
never
yeah,
do that.
never will.
Yeah, I think Dana would slap Scott Coker before that happened, but he has a bit of a problem with some slapping, as we're about to get into. But I shouldn't even joke about it,
The
honestly.
transitions write themselves, people.
They do. It's pretty sad how MMA works, isn't it? And before we get into this, like seriously, isn't it like ironic how like the power slap thing that Dana's behind is like
Yeah,
just become and by the
and then
way,
they
like
pushed
TPS
it
pushed
back.
it, yeah.
Yeah,
So like you have that, and then obviously Dana White getting in like the domestic violence thing with his wife by slapping her, which is like you just kind of it writes itself. Like it's just that's just ironic at that point. But Dana obviously on New Year's Eve, in case anybody didn't know, him and his wife, I'm pretty sure were like pretty drunk during this, and they were having like an argument, and I think Cabo somewhere in Mexico, and in the video you see Dana's wife kind of like slap him, and then he slaps her right back, and then they get separated obviously by their friends, and you know I would like I'm not here to shit on Dana White. Like I feel like everybody else has kind of done that for the most part, and like I don't know what more like people would want him to do. Like he's already like taken responsibility and apologized, and to me like personally that doesn't really like change anything for me. But like at the same time, you see in other sports people lying about what they've haven't done, and they get to do whatever they want, and they don't apologize or do anything, and those people continue to just feel the hurt of what happened to them. So I could at least respect that Dana came out and admitted it and like was just like, this was wrong. But at the same time, like, I just kind of feel like there's so many people that handled this the wrong way, like from TMZ too, like with like the softball questions they were giving them, and like, like I said, like at least Dana wasn't taking like the easy out for it, but it's just amazing like how certain people like will get like accused of like domestic violence and it's a huge thing, but then like Dana White gets it and it just kind of gets swept up, under everything else. But then besides that though, you have people in the MMA community, which is wild to me, that are defending him, and like they just think that Dana can do no wrong. And I'm like, when you think about like, because obviously I think Dana's like an awesome promoter, but you're talking about like hitting a woman at this point. And, like, the fact that people, like, even, like, Sean O'Malley, who, like, obviously I'm a fan of, like, I'm literally wearing his hat. And just to see him, like, who has, like, a huge following, especially with young people, too. And him saying that, like, yeah, when a woman slaps you, like, she deserves a slap back. Like, what? Like, that, you know how many followers he has that are seeing that? And these idiot, like, people who follow him would take that, like, as good advice. Like,
that's the thing about some of you. Like, you can be, you can, like me and you, or you can be a diehard, like, fight fan and, like, absolutely love this. But, like, the art of it, because some of these diehard fight fans are, like, just, this they have just, like, straight, like, barbaric mindset. Like, like, I guess...
yeah. You got people,
whatever, like, yeah, like, just everything's like, fight, like, or whatever, just like it's just always on their mind or whatever, just like, I don't, either somebody else like beating the shit out of somebody or themselves beating the shit out of somebody. Like, that's, whoever's fault that is, who knows, but that's how some of these these like diehard MMA fans, fight fans, whatever, like, it's just, they're just, yeah, like, I guess just...
Barbaric is a good word for it, honestly. It's just, like, amazing to me. Like, you look at comments and stuff.
I literally saw a poll on Twitter. Simple question asking, is Dana White in the wrong? Yes or no? And what's the winning result? Yes.
Do you remember the number?
Yeah. I think it was definitely like a lot wider from like the first time I saw it, but it definitely came back. I still think when the poll closed, I still think no won at like 53%.
Yeah, that's alarming. It's just amazing to me like how many people like you see in the comments will like, well, she hit him first or he was drunk, like as if that's like a valid excuse to put like your hands on a woman. Like that's unbelievable. Like to me, like my thing is like women, children, and animals like don't, like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's just I just can't believe like the amount of people who are defending him and like are like basically calling other people like almost like snowflakes for being mad about it. Like, there's certain things that like you could argue like are snowflake type things, but like not like domestic abuse. Like, come on. It's just, I don't know, like, because then you don't really know like what happens from here, because Endeavor's stock, I don't know how much it is at now, but I heard at one point it dropped by like 6%, which is like a decent like bit, but I guess not enough for them to really do much about it. Like the only repercussions of this so far have really been that the power slap thing has been pushed back by TBS, but besides that, like Endeavor hasn't commented, and it seems like what I've heard is everybody who's being asked for comment is like telling you to go like to another person. Like you ask ESPN, they say ask the UFC. You ask the UFC, they ask Endeavor. Endeavor, ask ESPN. Like it's like a cycle, and it's kind of crazy like how they just kind of want to bury it and let it keep going. But this is how business works, and it's not like they're just gonna oust Dana. Like anybody who thinks that's gonna happen is delusional, even if you think he deserves it, which is valid. Like I wouldn't hate anybody for thinking that he does deserve that. But it's never going to happen. Not in that way. So it's just a stupid situation. Obviously next week, like, we're going to be back talking about the UFC anyway. Like, they got all these good cards coming up. But you can't, like, just not mention something like this. And I figure, like, it's a good time to bring it up now. So, like, when we're talking about the UFC these next few weeks, it's like people don't think we're just kind of like glossing over it, because I feel like you
I
shouldn't
mean,
gloss over an
yeah, I
incident like
like.
this.
It's like it's. I guess it all comes back to Dana White himself and like how he like feels and like what he's thinking and stuff. Cause like you just mentioned before about the whole TMZ asking questions and stuff, which is just straight like embarrassing how they freaking went about that, like tossing the softballs and stuff, and then which was good to see like him like, but like yeah, that's what he should be doing. He should be like owning up to his wrong, like no matter, cause like yeah,
Yeah.
like we've already kind of talked about it with the whole Patty and Ariel situation, like Dana
Ariel had a
White, like
field day with Dana.
rightfully
Uh,
so,
yeah.
rightfully so. Like how Dana, like it's like he whether he already is or but like it does the fact matter is like he can surround himself with as many yes men as he wants, and like obviously when you run as successful a promotion as he has with UFC, and you're sitting on all this money now from everything else, you have money invested in, like like it's like yeah, it's dumb because that's just kind of how the world works and stuff, like that's what makes the world go round is money. So um yeah, like I think it all comes back to like, because I think this can be like, this is a kind of we're talking about, I guess, talking with the other promotions, but like this is a pretty big year for the UFC, I think. And how Dana White's gonna go about it, in terms of like booking decisions and business decisions, obviously, and how he goes about talking to media. Like, who knows if this is gonna play like some kind of like change into all of that. Like, it could all be a domino effect by like the end of the year, honestly.
And then
So
you wonder too, like next week or the week after at the pay per view, like do they ask him about this? Because we've talked about how some of
that's
the
the thing, and it's
outlets don't
like,
really do that
yeah,
type of
like
thing.
you don't have these people, yeah, these journalists that are in attendance for these press conferences, like they're not trying to they're not trying to get under Dana's skin. They're not trying to get just straight up like bullied by Dana right in front of everybody. They're just happy to be here. They're happy to be there. They want to keep talking to him, asking questions, talking to fighters, media pass, credentials, all of it. Like, but this, the time is legit. Like now, this is why like we had to like talk about TMZ and how just terrible they went about it. It's
Yeah.
like what? There's no excuse. It's literally on video. Like
Yeah.
what he
I just
literally
don't
owns
like
up to it too.
I don't
With-
like how a corporation is like helping a guy who literally you just caught him like hitting his wife. Like I think that's just weird, like ethically. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he
Yeah.
did like a bad thing and you're trying to like help him here, like, and I get
So
they have a
yeah,
good
that
relationship,
time.
but it's the same thing with like the sites we're talking about, except like TMZ is not really MMA technically, but like how do you think like they get access to UFC fighters? Like they have a good relationship with Dana White. So they probably want to keep that so they can keep getting all these high profile interviews that like they keep getting. But
No backbone.
yeah, I hope Ariel goes to like UFC. What is it? 283. Yeah, 283. Do like the press conference and ask him a question about it just out of spite. Wouldn't that be funny? He never goes.
So great.
I don't think that'll happen though. But anyway, the only other thing is, I guess we can talk a tiny bit because obviously next week the UFC is coming back with a pretty good card. Nasruddin Imavov versus Kelvin Gastelum in the first main event for the UFC in 2023. Good old Apex card. And it's not a bad card, though. I mean, the co-main is Dan Ige versus Damon Jackson. That's going to be a fun one. Ketlin Vieira versus Raquel Pennington. Umar Nurmagomedov versus Ione Barcelos. Damn, there's actually a couple really good fights on here. But I don't know. I mean, never mind. That one got canceled. It was the Jeff Neal versus Shavkat one, but that got moved to March.
Yeah.
So, pretty good card next week. I don't know like what your early leans are, but I'm thinking Imavov right now. I'm gonna look up the odds though. What do you think? Right
Me
off
too.
the top of your head, yeah.
It's really it. I mean, I could be wrong, but I don't know. I don't really think I am. But I mean, it's been a minute for Kelvin Gastelum, dude. Like
Yeah.
I think some things are gonna show with this fight and him. I hope it's not the beginning of the end for him, but this is a tough task for him here.
Nasruddin Imavov is a minus 200 favorite on DraftKings, plus 170 underdog for Gastelum. And it seems like that's pretty much around what it is across the board. So
has Gastelum been having weight issues, like making weight and stuff?
I want to say he just had an injury. I don't think he
was
anything.
Okay.
I think he got hurt. So that's the other thing too. And like he's not getting. I don't think he's that old, but he's not really getting any younger though. He's had a lot of crazy fights.
He's had yeah.
And Imavov's good, man. He's a long striker.
Yeah, and that's why I think this one could I think this one definitely has the makings of another war. But it's like I don't think Kevin Gastelum can keep just enduring those. Whether he wins or loses.
Yeah, he's had a couple of rough losses lately anyway. Let's see what his
he has.
His record is here. Got his Tapology pictures from 2009. Yeah, he's lost 5 of his last 6. Adesanya lost, Till lost, Hermanson by heel hook, then he beat Ian Heinisch, lost to Whitaker, lost to Cannonier. So he's losing to the best of the best. So there's something to be said about that, but he hasn't fought since August of 2021 against Cannonier, and we're in 2023 now. So, I don't know. I think usually when fighters take a lot of time off, it doesn't usually help. They seem to be rusty a lot of the times, unless you're like Dominic Cruz. But I guess we'll see what happens, and obviously we'll be back here to talk about it next week, and we'll be back to talk more about your training camp. Like I said, the video for that is probably going to come out on Friday. Yeah. That will definitely be announced shortly, if not by the time this pod comes out. So
it's good. It's good to be back in the saddle. It feels like we only missed one episode, and it feels like a whole year ago. Oh. Yeah. But no, it has. Very full. Yeah, no, it has felt like a little while. It's good to be back. Big year for the channel. Big year for fighting, and hell yeah.
It's always a big year for fighting when main card TIZ is getting in the ring. So with that, like I said, stay tuned for that video on Friday, and stay tuned for the next pod next week. So we'll see you guys.
Thanks, Paulo.